Hey, Chris, we're back again.
Good to be
Nice to
back
have
on
you
here with you
back.
again, Marjorie. Always a pleasure.
And we're talking for about time management methods. This is the video technique number three, RPM. We've covered two other techniques in the previous session, so everybody can go back and watch them. They're going to be on this Facebook group here, and you can just go back and check them out. Number one, which was the totally doable to-do list, and number two, which was the LPA. Did I
LPA,
get
yeah,
that
the list,
correct?
list
Yep.
prioritize action.
Yes. And this week we're going to talk about RPM. So it's already sounding like we're speeding through everything here.
And I like to think of it as speed to market. So, yeah, thank you, Marjorie. And for this, I'm just what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to be doing a lot more telling in this one. So because I think there's a lot of information on this. So I want you to be hanging by there with a pen and paper handy. Have your phone handy. If you don't have that, you can take pictures of the screen
Mm,
as they come up. And because there's a lot of information on here, but I'm going to condense this down as much as I can and make it as easy to understand as we possibly can. Okay.
okay.
So again, just to explain what we mean by RPM, RPM is just obviously an anagram for the results. So if we look over here, you'll see this is, you want to have something, anytime that you have something that you want to do, an action that you have, like in the last one that we did was LPA, list, create a list. You want to prioritize what you want to do. And with something that's taking priority and something you've got to get done immediately, rather than just starting about doing it, what is the plan that you have to put that action into effect? So we want to be result finish, a result focused. That's going to the technique we use. It's going to be purpose driven, and purpose driven me or driven, depending on how what day of the week you put your teeth in. But that just stands for rapidly identify the highest priority of things that you need to do. So once you've got a
Okay.
priority to it, then what do you need to do in order to take that and have massive action that you can have on that particular task or action that you have? And you just need to
Mm-hmm.
take action, but you need to plan it out first. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just take a look at it. So if you want to just, I'll have that up there for just a second. Leave it up for about 5 seconds if you want to take a picture of it. But the reality is, what I want to do right now is give you another simple graph or another simple tool that you can use to start to map out and get your head around this. I'm going to tell you how to use it, what each area stands for, and then I'm going to model it. I'm going to give you an example of how you would put that into play. So it's going to happen fairly quickly. So if you could just again have your cameras ready, take notes. Try to if you I found if you take the camera, but you let this digest into yourself, then it's going to make a lot more sense. So let's just talk about this. Remember that all along we've been talking about creating a list. So once you've got your list done, you've prioritized what they are on the side, then you pick
Mm-hmm.
one of those topics and you want a result that you get it from. In other words, what's the action you need to take? And I'll give you one of mine here. So this stuff I'm just going to make up on off the top of my head. I had on here. We have a new thing that's coming out. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So on the top of my list it says teaser for the Lead and Teach program that myself and our team are putting together with Mr. Chris Moody, which is for training trainers and training educators. So what would I need to do in that? So I would just say, okay, now I want to find an action plan for the teach and lead, the teach to lead. So I would need first, what's the result that you wanted to get out of that? So if you
Mm-hmm.
can write this down and write down SMART, you can see it on the side. And SMART just stands for what you would put into that column. If you have a result that you want, teach to lead. So what are the specific things that we would need to do in order to get the result of having that teach and lead program put together? Yeah.
So just to clarify, this is not going to be a to-do list. You're not going to do this for every single item. You're
No.
only going to do this for like maybe a project. So we're no
Yes.
longer talking about a to-do list item, but a to-do project that you have to work on. Great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and because it's not like if I had it in the morning that I was forgetful and I said, look at make the coffee in the morning. I don't think I would need an action plan that was for that.
No.
Those would be habits we've already got built in. But when there's
Yeah,
something you really have to put your brain down on a pen
yeah,
and paper to get down to find out how you're going to do it and see the things that work and don't work,
yeah,
then this is really necessary. So,
right.
and thank you for that. So the point was not for just anything, but when you got a project or something to do, it's got to be specific of what the results are going to be. It's got to be measurable. It has to be achievable. So I can't say that I want to create a project that we know that is going to take a year to make, but I want to have it done by the end of the week. So it's got to
Yeah,
be
right. Yeah.
achievable. It has to be a realistic goal, something that you say, okay, this is something that I would want, people would want to do, etc. And then you have to have a time frame. And you
Hmm.
can vouch for this one, but we find in our organization, unless we have a deadline of it, it stretches and
Hmm.
stretches and stretches and it stretches and it never gets done.
Yeah,
So, because it's just too easy to put it off. Okay. And
yeah.
then beside that, you have to put down the purpose, which is the what. So the result is what, the purpose is why. Here's why I want to do that. And then the
Hmm.
MAP stands for Massive Action Program or plan, I should
Okay,
say, massive action plan. So this is how you're going to do it. Okay. Now I'm not going to
got
give
it.
you that right now. I'm going to just jump into the next thing here, and this will give you a little bit more of how to put this together. So let's just go under what you should do here insofar as results.
Hmm.
Is remember, this is you're not recreating tasks on this. So it's not saying here's all the tasks that I need to do on there. It's the
Yeah.
outcome that I want from this task. So in other words, if it was my teach and lead, I'd say, what's the outcome that we want? Well, we want to help, we want to be able to have something that's put together that helps educators teach. We would want to make sure that we have something that is functional and we have it in a way that people can easily access the information. And then end result. Well, and just to be very candid, we are capitalists, so we have to have something. It's got to be something that we can generate revenue with, etc. If you see, do you see how this is working here?
Hmm. Yep,
So it's not it's outcome, but not task oriented. It's got to
yep.
give you. You've got to get it. What's the end result that you want out of it? And you're focusing
Hmm.
on what it is, not why you're doing it and not how you're doing it, just focusing on the what. What is it
Okay.
itself? And then you have to give it at what is the weekday or the when is it going to be done? The day, the week, the month, etc. The year
Hmm.
could be something that's 2 to 3 years down the road, but you're going to chip away at it slowly. Okay. And that's the result. Then you
Right.
move over to purpose. Now, I purposely, pun intended here, uh, left that out in the other one because unless you have really see something as an example, the purpose is the why. So, what's the real reason you want to do it? So,
Mm.
in other words, if it was simple as you were going to do this very quickly and it was, um, I want to make sure that we're changing the meetings that we're having. Okay, well, it might be what do I want to do? Well, the outcome. The outcome is we're going to move our meetings from Monday to Wednesday. That's the end result that I want, and that it might be the only thing in your column, and I want to have that done
Hmm.
within 2 weeks. We want to be able to move this. Might we go over to it where the purpose is the real reason is what's the real reason? Well, the real reason might be I don't we're not getting a proper attendance or people are tired by having it on Monday and they're coming in a little bit
Right.
tired and
Yes.
they're tired in the morning as opposed to
Hmm.
a little too much to imbibe, and we're going to get better attendance, better, more meaningful. What's the benefit of it? The benefit is could be that everybody gets a chance to have spend more time with their family over the weekend, or because we have certain people that aren't in on Mondays, it doesn't work on the Mondays. And this should be the longest list. Doesn't mean it has to go on forever if it's a simple project, but it could go on
Hmm.
for very long if
Hmm.
it's a big project. The massive action plan, this is how. And this, quite frankly, I think the first few times that I've ever done this, it's always been this is the hardest part to get into it because how are you going to do it? So it's not just about laying out 1, 2, 3, what I'm going to do is what are you going to do about it? So in other words, how are you getting started? What's the
Mm.
actions that you have to do? What are some of the tough conversations you're going to have. It might be
Hmm.
if I wanted to change something radically in the salon, I might have to speak to other people so that they know who have went through it, so they know they can advise me on how to handle those tough conversations rather than having a massive walkout because you're going to do something.
Hmm.
And then at the end of it, what's the decisions, what's the timelines you have to do, etc. This is the part, and I purposely have this one in a different color because remember, this part is not, it doesn't, you're going to write down all sorts of options and you may or may not do all of them. But you've got to think outside the box. For
Right.
instance, this morning, you and I and Chris had a conversation, and we were talking about a program that we were doing and we're thinking of launching, and we were thinking of it in a logical step one, step two, step three, step four. And then we
Right.
started to think about, well, would people buy into it if you gave away something, or if you were talking about something that maybe didn't mean as much to them at the very beginning, or should you do something out of sequence, so something that's highly impactful at the very beginning and they buy in, and then all of the other stuff that seems to be less impactful but still they'll go, okay, well, I've got all of this other stuff, so now I see how this is relevant. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to
Yep.
be creative in the way that you're going to do things, and that might mean in your options you're going to write, it might be something that you never thought of doing, or a way that you started a project you never thought of starting it before. And when you write those
Right.
options down, not to analyze them.
Hmm.
So as soon as we had that, okay, that's a good idea, let's try it. And we immediately did a brain dump, and everybody just went down and said, okay, based on that, and if we had to change these names, et cetera, blah, 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 everybody take 1 minute and just write down all the things that you would put down there and then combine them. And we got that done literally in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to do for your your massive action planning. And if you'll notice in here, beside the result and the purpose, is if you put the results down and the purpose behind why you want to do it, that's your incentive. So if it's just a thing, I want to do this, but you don't know what your incentive is, then you could keep pushing it back. You could keep procrastinating
Hmm.
rather than moving forward on it. And it might get down, you might go into the real reason why you want to do it. And you would say, you know what, that's really not anything that I think is really important. So you might just pass on it. But by planning it first, you'll come up whether it's a good idea or not a good idea. Good idea for you,
Yep.
bad idea for your staff. Bad idea for your
Right.
staff, bad idea for you, or good idea for you, good idea for your staff. It helps you
Hmm.
to really have some incentive of why you want to do it. Okay. Now, I think there was a lot of what we call gobbledygook in there, me talking about it. So, Marjorie, what I did is I put together just a little plan here
Okay.
on to model it. Okay, so how would you put this into action? And
Hmm.
when I did this, I literally set a time limit. That I set a time limit for 20 minutes. I didn't want to spend any more time on it than that. And I just started to write down. So here's an action plan that I put together just so you can see how I would do it. So the first thing that we said in here was if the action was that I wanted to hire an education manager, or I wanted to
Yeah.
hire somebody in our salon to take over the training. It might be, I want an artistic director, I want an education manager, I want just somebody to handle education and take things off my plate. Okay. So remember, that was one of your tasks that you might have been a big task that you had inside your totally doable to-do list, or it might have
Hmm.
been in your listing of things that you wanted to get done. And it's a to do, not in one of those other columns. How do you make
Yeah.
action on it? So
Yeah.
just list it. And then remember,
Hmm.
the results are the what. So I wrote down in there, I want to liaise. And again, these are if I put myself in your shoes, these are what I thought of. And these are my opinions of what they are. They may not be
Hmm.
yours, but you're going to see the example of the thought process of how we go through this. So under the
Yeah.
results, I put down the first one was I want a liaison between the staff and ownership. because we all know that you might have been their friend when you were working with them, but as soon as you're owner, you're at a different level. You're on even if you say ours are all lateral, everybody's equal in our place, but they still might not talk to you simply because it's your business, your owner, you're the owner, and they might not do it. If you got an
Yes.
education manager, that's the liaison. Even as some of the jobs that people have, I work with a manufacturer, and we say we're kind of the last line of defense between corporate, who have to make corporate decisions, and the hairdressers that are out in the field. So
Mm.
you're a liaison. I also wrote down that person, this member, the what. If I want to have somebody that is the education manager, then
Mm-hmm.
I would like to have. Remember, this is a like to, but not need to. I would like them to have some training in the past. So they might have worked with a manufacturer. They might have done some education before. They might have come from another salon or another area where they've done some education within the salon. Okay. Now, you also have to think about it is that if they don't have the training, but are they willing to be trained? So if they're
Mm-hmm.
willing to be trained at the education, then obviously I would supply that for them so I could send them to a course or have them on some of a virtual training program, a training program that they can pursue and have at their own measure and measure themselves on, or I can get involved with them on it, those kind of things. So then it might be, if I'm not hiring one, is there a current staff member that if they're open to all of this, that would make a good candidate. So you're hiring from within. Then I started to write down what are things that I want. I want to take charge personality. They can't have a wimpy all a personality and get run over by everybody if you're going to be in a leadership management position. They have to be willing to take leadership training, as opposed to how to train, but they should have leadership training so they know how to lead the team. That person they can handle one-on-one team meetings for me. And I'd like to have them hired in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So my deadline in this case would
Mm.
be July 30th, 2024. That person I want to have either in the process is hired or in the process of hiring. See, so that handles
Right.
all of the what.
Yep.
Okay. Now here's the part that I think is really interesting. When you really go into the why, what's the real reason what's the purpose behind having that education manager? So I started to think like when I was an owner, and I would say, well, I want to free up my time so I can focus on the business. I want to be able to say, how can I grow my business? And the time that I was doing training for uh, 2 to 4 hours a week,
Mm-hmm.
I can now put forward to this. And I think we did a cost analysis that if you generate, and I'm going to be a little bit off on my numbers here, but I think we came out, if you had to pay somebody their hourly wage that's a new hire, and you got to train them, and you're generating, let's say for average ticket for design and color, it's at all, your average ticket is $100, and you're working 8 hours a day, so many days. I think our ranged and numbers ranged anywhere from $16,000 to $24,000 that it costs you to train somebody over 6 months. But if you can
Mm-hmm.
have somebody that has taken over that training and doing
Mm-hmm.
it for you, you have more time to grow your business and grow your profitability. Then we also said that I would like to have, if I have that education manager, that would allow me some free time that I can spend with my family. Wow, what a concept. Or
Mm-hmm.
having just an evening to myself, or God forbid, go on a vacation, etc. So that's some
Yeah.
of the other reasons why that's there. Now, here's the other part that I start to think of, and I wish I would have, what I know now, I wish I would have known when I was first starting my businesses, is that eventually, could that candidate, the correct candidate, I would never put this at the beginning, I would never put this as a lead in or a carrot, but if Marjorie was hiring Chris, then in the back of Marjorie's mind, she would be saying, wow, Chris seems to be doing really. Would he be a good person that I could have him come on as a shareholder? And eventually, all the shareholders could take over the business and help to buy me out.
Right.
I also thought that as a confidant, I want that person to be a confidant, that the real reason is behind having them as a liaison is that, and I don't know if that's the right way. I don't, doesn't look right way I've spelled it, but this thing doesn't have spell check. That if I've got somebody that's on staff that's training them, that trust them well enough to tell them things that they might not tell me. That's the real reason. And then I want to have a manager that takes responsibilities when I'm gone. I want them to be a collaborator. That's the person that is going to, maybe sometimes with me, but they can hold the team accountable for
Mm-hmm.
their education and their business skills. Okay, I should say building their skills. If they're not good in an
Mm-hmm.
area, how do you make sure that you're building their skills up at the end result, so that if everybody's skills are great, then you can increase the quality and the production that you have within your business. And that all, the higher the quality, the more production, the more value comes in, the more higher the generate the dollars. So
Mm-hmm.
you can see on here that all the purpose behind this is the real reason why you want to do everything that's listed in the results. How was that? Did that come across well? Was there anything I left out?
Yeah, no, that's great. So going back to your previous one, at this point, you would look and say, is this um, is this feasible, and does this make sense? Do I still want to do this? Are all these reasons listed strong enough reasons for me to move forward with my
Yeah.
massive action plan?
Yeah, you see
Great.
it?
Yeah.
All of those things, when I start to see on
Yeah.
there that, hey, I've got a plan down the road, I can see this, that's my incentive. That's
Yeah.
exactly where I go with this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That's great.
so you've got the what, you've got the how, or you've got the
Mm-hmm.
what, you've got the why. Now is the how. The massive
Mm-hmm.
action plan is this. I want to build, and I'm just picking numbers arbitrarily out of there. Let's just say that, excuse me, total working in your business, you have, let's say, 8 or 9 people, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to build the team to 16. And let's say I want to do that, and I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put this in, and I want to say that I want to do this, and it could be I want to do it in 1 year. It could be, or I want to do this over 18 months. I want to build up our team to 16. It might be you're going to say, "Ha, Chris, you don't realize how much trouble I have getting 2 people." Well, I'll take you back to here. Here's the reality. The more quality that you have, the more production that you have, the more your increase grows, the more people earn more money, and the more that people working for you earn more money, they spread the word, and it's easier to get staff. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's the numbers that I'm using arbitrarily. Don't let whatever I'm saying here say, well, that will never work. Just say, this is the things that I would be my massive action plan as I want to build
Yeah.
the team up. Here's what is, so that means, and I must have done this over 2 years. Or I think I might have put this over 3 to 4 years, because I just noticed I wrote in here, I want to add two members a quarter. So that would mean that I'm literally adding 8 people in 1 year. So that would have been a
Mm-hmm.
1 year term for me. And then
Yeah.
I say, now here's the other ones. Now I'm just thinking big here, is I want to open another location. I'm making money. I've got my position is coming up. I want to add another location in 2 years. The candidate that we talked about earlier, I could be setting that person up, grooming them so that they become the co-owner, partner,
Mm-hmm.
and manager of that other salon. So now we have a scalable business here. Um, I can say to that person, again, my massive action plan is based on that. You never give away your shares, but all the training that they're going to go over that 1 or 2 years, and we always believe you've got to pay people to train other people. And you could also say that they can bank their sweat equity. So if they're doing 4 hours of training every week or twice a week or whatever that is, you know what you'd be paying them for that, and whatever would count for their usual take in, and and that can become sweat equity, and you keep track of that. And you might say, my plan, the way that I want to get up to having two more, um, another business, is I want to add 1 to 2 shareholders per year so that they can buy
Mm-hmm.
me out of my salon. Now, why would I say that? Why would I want more share? I'm thinking the end game for me is that I want to take myself out from behind the chair in 3 years. You pick your number. I will tell you this, and I learned this from Jill Cron. one of my business partners in another venture that we're in, as she said, the day that you start your business is the day you should think about when you want to get out of your business. Meaning, what do I need to do from the day that I started, so that I have the means and the wherewithal to be able to sell it when I want to retire. And that best way to do that nowadays is to have your shareholders that are built into it. If you want some more on that, I can always have Jill come on and we can talk about that as well.
Well, we've
Uh,
done a podcast with Jill on
oh,
it,
that's
so I
right, we
can
did
link that
too.
in here.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did.
So I can
That's
link that in
that's on
here. It
head
was a
cases.
great podcast.
On head
Yeah.
cases, you can go to there. And so my point in here is that last one that I've got in there, my massive action plan, and this is probably one of the real reasons some people to do it, whether it's retire or just taking out myself mostly out of the game. And I would love to have people to buy my shareholders to buy me out in, you pick your number, 5 to 7 years,
Mhm.
15 years, whatever that might be. What's your plan on
Great.
that? So this is just your model of how you can put this together, as if for one action of hiring an education manager, and then what's the result that I want, what's the purpose that I do it, my real reason why, and then the
Mhm.
plan that I have to put it into action.
That's great. Thank you. Those are really great methods to go forward. I love how it's gone from the totally doable to-do list, just striking items off, to actually planning major life-changing changes in as a salon owner. So figuring out if it's feasible, if it's doable, and just starting that massive action plan to get it done is just amazing.
Yeah, well, again, to give credit where credit is due, these aren't things that we just come up with on our own. These are all of the combined teachers that we've had from the past, the research that our whole
Mhm.
team has done, and how we've implemented. I'll say this, I said it at the beginning in the very first one, and I'll say it at the end. Um, these are things I wasn't good at. I'm better at. I'm still not perfect at it, but it's always about getting better and better what you do. And I tell you, if you implement the things that we've done in here, even if you do them on just some of the things, you do them on something that's a really hard, complex thing to get through, it's going to make it a lot easier.
I can definitely see that. It would really be helpful. Uh, Especially, I mean, you can do this yourself, or you could sit down and do it with another person and just get two brains
Yeah.
on this and figure it out. Yep. Yeah.
And
Great.
just so the one last thing, remember, once you got your education manager, your other shareholders, those are all things that happen in your meeting, and you can just dump off a bunch of other things onto them, which saves you more time.
There we go. That's the ultimate time management. It all goes actually, the time management all goes back to saying no, knowing when to say no, delegating, knowing who to delegate to and when to
Yeah.
delegate. That's a huge learning. And I know a lot of people really have a problem with saying no to tasks that come their way, but especially as salon owners, you think everything is your responsibility, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a real trap.
Yep. Like me, like me, like me. You know, that's
Mhm.
not the reason why they like you. They like you because you provide a living for them, a great working environment and a culture that they can work in where they can truly succeed. And sometimes that means being a leader that you've got to get them to do it. You
Mhm.
can't do it yourself. You can't do everything for them.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's huge. Being a leader or even starting a leadership team in your salon, the first one is like just delegating to them because that's how they learn how to do what you're doing.